Hello everybody, this is Anyman, reminding you that you have the power. Some of you might be wondering, well, what do you mean I have the power? I'm just one person. What can I possibly do? Well, you might be surprised to learn that you can do a lot. No matter what kind of circumstances you live in, no matter what your abilities or disabilities, you can be a real-life superhero. You can be a hero to somebody in need. You can stand up for the people against the elitists, no matter what kind of elitist you're standing up against. Corrupt politicians, corrupt businessmen, criminals. You can stand up against them. Because the one thing elitists fear, well, there are three things that elitists fear. First is exposure, because they know that what they're doing is wrong. Second is the loss of the people's support, no matter how they got it. And third is that the people will rise up against them. Some of the people have the authority to do that legally. There are others who don't, but the people can work together to make a change. And it doesn't even have to be against an elitist. You have the power to make a difference, no matter what your walk of life, in any kind of situation. And if you think that just one of you is inadequate, get some help. Any man does not mean that there has to be just one of you. This persona was created for an indeterminate number of people to take on themselves, to protect them with anonymity, to empower them with the help of others, to embolden them to do whatever they can do to stand up against elitism in all its forms, and to stand up against insurmountable odds through the power of the human spirit, power of the human being, of many of us. In the 1980s, there was a real-life superhero, one of the first and most prolific, who was called the Fox. Now later on it turns out that the Fox was a school teacher. He taught, I believe, biology. Anyway, the point is, a corrupt organization came to town, a group of elitists who thought they should have the right to manipulate people and to dump their sludge wherever they wanted. The Fox didn't like that, so he put together his persona to hide himself, and he waged a one-man war against them. But it really wasn't one man. It was the support of the police, who for whatever reason couldn't catch him or get any clues as to who he was. It was the support of the people, who encouraged him to keep fighting the elitists, and who refused to turn him in. And it was the support of future real-life superheroes everywhere who wanted to live up to his example, and those of others. Now contrast that with the death of Kitty Genovese, a rallying cry for real-life superheroes of all kinds, nowhere near as dramatic as that of September 11th, 2001, but still pretty dramatic anyway. Kitty Genovese was a model. One day in New York, I believe it was, she was murdered. She had been assaulted brutally and just killed. Everyone in the neighborhood saw it happen, but they had been manipulated by fear and by the elitists who killed Kitty Genovese into not doing anything about it. They didn't even call the police. Those are some extreme examples, and you might be thinking to yourself, well, I don't have any special skills or superpowers or anything. In fact, I might be handicapped. I might be disabled somehow. What can I do? I'm just one man and I'm not good enough. That's wrong. You are good enough. You have the power of one man. You have the power to overcome your circumstances and the power to help other people overcome theirs. So what can you do? Well, first of all, you can continue trying to improve yourself. I'll admit myself, I'm not perfect in any sense, but I do continue trying to improve. I go to my local library on a regular occasion, and I will pick up books like, I have one right now that is about forensic chemistry. I take math classes on khanacademy.org, which is a well-known educational site, a non-profit, where you can learn anything, where your children can learn anything. I use Derby workouts 6 out of 7 days per week. And I take Atkins to help slim down and get me in shape. And when that's all done, when I've met my goals, I'm going to keep going. Because any man can improve. You don't have to be a man. Anyone can improve. I just say any man because I happen to be male. Okay? And that's another thing. Don't let your circumstances limit you. Don't limit yourself. Be proud of who or what you are. Yeah, you may not have the advantages others have, but you have advantages and abilities that others may not have. You know? What's important is you realize what you can do in spite of what you can't, and keep working to improve yourself. There was once a kid who was born with a disability that left him unable to walk for his entire life, and gave him, I believe it was encephalitis, a very large cranium. I don't know what the disease is called, but he had it from birth. And you know what that kid was able to do? He was able to get on his local softball team, even though he was in a wheelchair. When the other kids were running around the playground during recess, he was sitting in a corner, working out his upper body with an elastic band. He was great with computers and video games. He had all kinds of abilities, in spite of his major disabilities, and up till the very day he died, he continued to impress the doctors, who said that he would never live past 8 minutes, 8 seconds, 8 minutes, 8 hours, 8 days, 8 weeks, 8 months, 8 years. He was 14 when the disease finally took him, but he left behind a legacy that will last forever. And if he can find his abilities and nurture them and work around his disabilities to become something amazing, something inspiring, and so can you. So what's the first step? Again, the first step is a constant improvement, no matter what you gotta do. Because You ask anybody. You even ask a drill sergeant in the army, and they'll tell you, you can't be any good to anybody else until you get yourself straightened out. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do anything. That does mean that you have to keep improving on yourself in order to be the best you can, to do the most good that you can do. Alright? So first of all, keep improving yourself, spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, mentally, physically. Improve on yourself and never stop. And always find ways around whatever disability you may have. Be resourceful. Human beings were made in the image of God. We were made with imagination and resourcefulness. Qualities that God has, among many others. The second thing you can do, even if you can't do anything else, communicate. Tell other people. When you need help, tell someone who has the ability to help you, or the legal authority to help you. When you don't think you can trust anybody else, get your message out to the media, or even social media. Social media has become such a potent tool that even the police these days have Twitter feeds and Facebook pages where they share information and ask for help with solving cases. Don't be afraid to speak out. Elitists rely on being able to manipulate you and to keep their crimes a secret. Publish them to the whole world, especially to those who can do something about it. That's the only way to take them down. That is the most powerful way to take them down, and it's their greatest fear. They are cowards. They know that you're the ones with the power, and that's what they're afraid of. Invariably. Always. And if you're afraid that they're going to take you down, make it anonymous. Come up with an anonymous page to share your information on. Send in an anonymous tip. Heck, use the Anyman persona to make it public. That's another reason that I made this persona up. People can use it if they're afraid to still expose elitists. Because nobody knows who's behind the mask. Nobody knows who Anyman truly is. That means the elitists have no real target. I mean, who are they going to go after? And what are they going to do? For all they know, their target might be one of their customers. It might be one of themselves. Just using that propaganda that one of their own might be involved could take them down from the inside without you having to lift a finger. Which leads us to our next thing. Spreading the word. This is related to telling on people. And by the way, that's the most courageous thing you can do. It's not the ones who are silent who are cowards. They bear the greatest burden. It's not the ones who tell on people who are cowards. They are in the most danger. It's the ones who put people in danger for telling, who force others to carry the burden, that are the cowards. But again, this goes back to telling. This goes back to telling, and it goes back to spreading the word, spreading a message. The power that criminals fear about Anyman is that he could be anyone. He could be more than one person, anywhere, doing anything at any time, bar nothing. He, she, it, them. Anyman is without limits. Anyman has all the power of all the people willing to be involved. And sometimes, just coming up with a clever story can be enough to influence people. Maybe just putting a picture of an eyeball up someplace saying, "I'm watching you." Or some cryptic picture message up. Psychological warfare, and it works. During World War II, the British used it to keep the Nazis from invading by coming up with a plan that was completely fake and then making the Nazis believe they had the plan ready to put into action at a moment's notice. Basically, it was to shoot down their planes over the English Channel and then set the English Channel on fire. But it was so potent, and the implications behind it were so great, that the Nazis never touched England. They turned right back around and left, with their tails tucked between their legs. And then decades later it came out, there was no such plan ready to put in motion. It was a fake. It was a decoy. But that's the thing. There's no telling whether it's fake or not until it's already happened. And this brings us to something else. Specialties. Because any man does what any man can. And everyone is of equal value. But some of us learn different things than others. Some of us train in different things than others. Some of us have experience doing different things than others. And sometimes you're not just fighting elitism, you're just standing up for the common man, common person. Standing up for what's right and what's common. Lending a helping hand, that's also part of any man's mission. So maybe you take your expertise, your experience, your training, your skills, your knowledge, and you share them. Whether that be doing something for another person who can't do it, teaching how to do something to those who don't know how and should, whatever the case may be. And this brings us to another possibility. Giving. Now, I'm not asking you to give to me. Don't get it twisted. I am not, as some people believe, out to form a cult or a religion or a political party or an army or anything like that. The power is in each and every one of you individually, and all of you working together as a collective. But there are some of you out there who have the privilege of having more than others. I'm not telling you give till it hurts. I'm not telling you give up what you need. But you're going to run into people who have less than you. When you have an abundance, somebody else is going to have a lack, and it's not your fault. Well, I hope it's not your fault. Go ahead and give. Give to those who need it. Now, don't just throw your stuff out there for everybody else. No. Be wise in how you give. Don't give money directly. Buy things for people who need it. You know? Make sure that you tell them about how much you're sacrificing for them. That's the important thing, though. Giving and doing what you can. You have the power to make this world a better place. You are the power to make this world a better place. And that's another thing. For a lot of people, the world is not a very good place. They don't know a good world. Some people are raised knowing nothing better than hell. Hell itself, hell on earth. Some people are raised knowing better, but having to endure it anyway. And some people have a great life up until one devastating moment that destroys everything for them. In The Killing Joke, the Joker refers to such moments as the one bad day that can drive even the sanest man alive to lunacy. And unfortunately, he's right. Sometimes it does happen. And sometimes it's not even a bad day, it's just the cards you're dealt. Some of us are born with illnesses, or whether physical or mental. I'm not saying you should try to pretend to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a medical doctor. If you are one, that's great. But here's what I'm saying. Be a friend. Help people. Get through to them. Help them solve their problems emotionally and spiritually if you can. This particular Anyman got training as a minister and as a chaplain. There's a website called social-, the little dash, engineer.org. It teaches you all about how to communicate effectively with people. It also teaches you what scams to avoid that elitists use. Use that effective communication to help somebody else pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. Share with them what may have helped you. We all suffer at some point, and something helps us through it. Share with them whatever that was, as long as it's something that really has helped you and hasn't just made your suffering different, made your suffering something you can be addicted to. As long as it's good for you, and as long as it's helped you through, share it, by all means. Some people just need a friend. Being a friend is easy, it's free. You don't have to have any special training just to be a friend, you know? Open up to someone else. Give them a chance to connect to you and you to them. In Proverbs it says, as iron sharpeneth iron, so are a man and his friend sharpened together. Or so is a man sharpened by his brethren. We are strengthened when we help each other. It's okay to ask for help. And it's definitely a virtue to give it when it's needed. There's no such thing as an outcast, as a lowlife. Just people responding to the way things have been for them for so long. That's the final note I want to leave you guys with today. No matter what your circumstances, as long as you are for equality, as long as you are for the betterment of the lives of others, as long as you're not trying to use this persona for your benefit alone, or to the detriment, the suffering of others, as long as you're not trying to use this for an elitist purpose, by all means, be Anyman. Take this persona for yourself. Share it with others. You know? As long as you're not doing it for an elitist purpose, whether that be to put yourself above others or to take people below yourself. By all means, do it. That is one way that you know who any man is and isn't. Regardless of race, regardless of age, regardless of gender, regardless of your past or your decisions, regardless of your social status or your economic status, regardless of your political party, you will know any man, because any man works for the betterment of others. He works toward equality. Anybody pretending to be any man who works for an elitist purpose is not any man. And you should feel okay. You should feel free to put them in their place, even if it's me. You ever catch me working for a truly elitist purpose, put me in my place. Because ultimately, the people have and are the power. I hope this has helped you somewhat. I hope the instructional videos help you. I hope that I can make some kind of difference, make a change. I can leave behind some kind of positive impact for the world. Any man does what any man can. This is Anyman signing off, reminding you that you have and are the power. Use it wisely and use it well.